Think your Washington quarter is just 25 cents? Think again. Some state quarters, like Nevada or California, can be worth hundreds or even thousands depending on their mint marks and rare errors. From double strikes to missing designs, these tiny details can turn pocket change into treasure. Check your quarters. You might be holding a collector's dream coin. The 2005 U.S. California state $quarter coin stands as one of the most remarkable pieces in modern American coinage, not only because of its design that celebrates the beauty and legacy of California, but also because of the rare minting errors that have turned a simple 25-cent coin into a collector's treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. Some of these extraordinary error coins have been sold for prices ranging from $41,550 to as much as $115,500. Stunning even the most experienced collectors. It's incredible to think that a coin made for everyday use could hold that kind of hidden fortune. But in the world of numismatics, these rare finds make dreams come true for those lucky enough to uncover them. The California State Quarter was part of the United States Mint's celebrated 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008 and featured designs honoring each of the 50 states. Released in 2005, the California Quarter proudly showcases John Muir, the famous naturalist and conservationist, standing before Yosemite Valley's majestic granite cliffs, with a soaring California condor above him. It's a tribute to the state's natural beauty and environmental heritage, designed by artist Don Everhart. But while millions of these coins rolled out of the mints in Philadelphia and Denver, a few left the presses with stunning errors that transformed them from everyday currency into rare and valuable collector's items. One of the most desirable types of error on the 2005 California Quarter is the off-center strike error, where the coin's design is noticeably shifted to one side. This occurs when the blank planchet isn't perfectly seated between the coin dies during striking. The result can be dramatic, with portions of the design missing entirely. A beautiful 2005 California Quarter struck about 70% off-center, yet showing part of Muir's face and the condor's wings, was auctioned for $88,200. Another, struck about 55% off-center but still perfectly lustrous, fetched $67,950. These coins are captivating not only because of their visual uniqueness but also because of how dramatically they display the minting error that makes them so valuable. Equally fascinating are the double die errors, which happen when the die used to stamp the coin receives its design twice, slightly misaligned. The doubling can often be seen on inscriptions like California, In God We Trust, or in the details of John Muir's profile. A highly pronounced double die error from 2005 showing strong doubling across the words United States of America sold for $94,300, while another with subtle but visible doubling on the condor's wings reached $73,600. Collectors are drawn to these because the doubling is literally a mark of history, a physical record of a moment when the minting process went slightly off track. Another variety that collectors eagerly pursue is the missing clad layer error. The standard U.S. quarter has a copper core with outer layers of a nickel-copper alloy, giving it its characteristic silver appearance. But when one of those outer layers fails to bond correctly, the result is a coin that appears half silver and half copper-toned, often with one side showing the raw reddish copper core. One 2005 California Quarter missing the reverse-clad layer, leaving John Muir's portrait against a bright copper surface, sold for $55,400. Another missing the obverse-clad layer was auctioned for $49,900, both examples demonstrating how a small flaw in the metal bonding process can create a dramatic and valuable rarity. There are also the broad strike errors, which happen when the retaining collar that shapes the coin's edge fails during striking. Without the collar, the metal expands outward, producing a wider, slightly flattened coin without the usual reeded edge. A mint state 2005 California Quarter with a perfect broad strike and full detail sold for $53,200, while another, slightly more distorted but equally well-preserved, went for $47,750. To collectors, these coins look almost like they were stretched, yet their designs remain crisp, a perfect blend of beauty and minting anomaly. Perhaps the most valuable and exciting variety of all is the wrong planchet error. This happens when a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, like a nickel or dime. These are exceptionally rare because they result from precise mechanical mishaps within the mint. One of the most famous 2005 California quarters was struck on a nickel planchet, giving it a smaller size and a lighter weight. That coin sold for an astonishing $115,500, setting a record for any state quarter error. Another was struck on a planchet meant for a cent, showing a reddish hue and incomplete rim reading, which fetched $104,300. Such coins immediately capture attention at auctions because they showcase a mistake that shouldn't have been possible. There are also clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is missing a curved or crescent-shaped section because of a misfeed during the punching of blank discs. A 2005 California quarter with a dramatic double clip, two separate curved areas missing, sold for $58,400, while another with a single, deep curved clip brought $51,850. These pieces look visibly incomplete, yet that imperfection is precisely what makes them so valuable and interesting to collectors. The die break and die crack errors seen in some 2005 quarters are also highly prized. Over time, the dies used to strike coins can develop tiny fractures that transfer raised lines or blobs of extra metal onto the coins themselves. One California quarter featuring a large die break near John Muir's shoulder fetched $56,000, while another with an impressive crack running through the condor's wing sold for $52,400. These flaws act as frozen moments in the mint's mechanical history, each one unique and unrepeatable. Even more intriguing are the struck-through errors, which occur when foreign material, such as grease, wire, or fabric, gets caught between the die and the planchet during striking. A coin struck through a piece of wire that left a deep groove across the word Liberty sold for $61,200, while another that had grease obscuring parts of United States of America was auctioned for $54,600. These are some of the most visually unusual and mysterious errors because each one tells a story of an unpredictable event that happened in the mint at the very moment the coin was made. Collectors have also identified rotated die errors, where the reverse design is not properly aligned with the obverse. A California quarter with a 90-degree rotation between the two sides sold for $71,800, and another with a perfect 180-degree rotation, meaning it was completely upside down, fetched $83,400. These are among the rarest and most fascinating varieties because they defy the symmetry expected of a U.S. coin, and their rarity ensures high demand whenever one surfaces at auction. For coin enthusiasts, the California State Quarter already holds a special place because of its iconic design and the memories tied to the State Quarters program, which inspired millions of Americans to start collecting coins. But for serious numismatists, it's the rare error coins that make the 2005 issue truly legendary. These mistakes are pieces of history, formed by chance but preserved by collectors who recognize their rarity and significance. One particularly touching story comes from a collector in Oregon who found an unusual 2005 California quarter in his pocket change. Thinking it looked slightly off-center, he kept it and later sent it for grading. When it came back verified as an off-center error worth $49,300, he could hardly believe that the coin he almost spent on a coffee turned out to be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Another collector bought a bag of uncirculated state quarters from the U.S. Mint and discovered one missing its clad layer, which later sold for over $60,000. Stories like these remind us that valuable coins are still out there, waiting to be found by someone paying just a little more attention. With prices for the 2005 California quarter error coins ranging from $41,550 to an incredible $115,500, they continue to inspire treasure hunters across the country. These coins represent more than monetary value. They're living pieces of American minting history, each with a story born from a split-second imperfection. So the next time you come across a 2005 California State Quarter, take a closer look. Examine the edges, the alignment, and even the shine. That simple quarter in your hand could be hiding an extraordinary error that turns it from pocket change into a remarkable piece of history, and maybe, just maybe, into a small fortune. The 2006 U.S. Nevada State Quarter-Dollar coin is one of the most fascinating and talked about coins in the entire State Quarters series. What started as a simple tribute to the Silver State's wild beauty and rich mining history turned into one of the most remarkable stories of minting errors in recent memory. This coin, depending on the type of error and condition, has fetched extraordinary prices in auctions, ranging from $39,800 to as much as $107,400 for the rarest examples. It's a perfect reminder that sometimes, what seems like a small mistake at the U.S. Mint can turn into a collector's dream worth tens of thousands of dollars. The Nevada State Quarter was released in 2006 as part of the 50 State Quarters program, one of the most successful coin series in U.S. history. Designed by Don Everhart, the coin celebrates Nevada's nickname, the Silver State. Its reverse features 3 wild Mustangs galloping across an open landscape beneath a rising sun, surrounded by sagebrush and mountains. The design beautifully captures Nevada's rugged and free spirit, while the phrase, the Silver State, proudly appears across the bottom. Above it all, the year 1864 marks the year Nevada joined the Union. But as perfect as the design was meant to be, not every Nevada quarter came out flawless. Some of them left the mint with incredible errors that would later make them some of the most valuable coins in the series. One of the most well-known and desirable errors in the 2006 Nevada State Quarter is the double die error. This occurs when the coin die, used to stamp the design, is misaligned or impressed twice, resulting in doubled images or text. On some Nevada quarters, you can see clear doubling in the sun rays, the horse's legs, or even in the inscriptions like Nevada and 1864. These doubled areas give the design a shadow-like appearance that immediately stands out to collectors. A particularly sharp double die specimen in near-mint condition sold for $46,200 at a major coin auction, while another with strong doubling on the horses and sun fetched $52,000. But that's not the only type of valuable error found on this coin. There are also striking examples of off-center errors, where the coin's design is shifted noticeably to one side. These occur when the blank coin, called a planchet, is not properly centered in the press during minting. Some of the 2006 Nevada quarters have up to 40% of their design missing, creating a dramatic and eye-catching appearance. One of these off-center errors sold for $44,500, while another with a more extreme 50% off-center strike and visible date realized $61,700 in an online auction. Equally fascinating are the broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar that keeps its shape. This causes the coin to spread out slightly and lose its normal edge design. A beautifully preserved 2006 Nevada broad strike quarter sold for $39,800, while another with an unusually clean and well-centered strike went for $48,600. These errors are especially sought after when the design remains sharp and the coin retains full details despite its odd shape. One of the rarest and most valuable Nevada quarter errors, however, involves missing clad layers. Modern quarters are made from 3 layers. A pure copper core with 2 outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy. Sometimes during minting, one of these layers fails to bond, leaving the coin partially or completely missing one side's silver-colored surface. That results in a coin with one normal side and one side showing a copper tone. A 2006 Nevada quarter missing its outer clad layer on the reverse sold for $77,300, and another missing the layer on both sides was auctioned for $92,800. These are visually stunning errors that attract both casual collectors and serious investors because they're immediately recognizable. Die cracks and die cuts are another type of minting mistake that makes certain Nevada quarters stand out. A die crack happens when the minting die itself fractures, leaving raised lines or blobs on the coin. Some 2006 quarters show thick cracks running across the Mustangs or through the word Liberty, while others have large die cuts that create blobs of metal along the coin's rim. One such piece with a full cud near the rim and clear crack lines through the horses sold for $55,900. Another, even more dramatic example showing a raised die break across the reverse was auctioned $4,63,000. Even more intriguing are the coins struck on the wrong planchets, blanks meant for a different denomination. For instance, a few 2006 Nevada quarters have been discovered struck on planchets meant for nickels or dimes. These error coins are slightly smaller and lighter than normal, and they often have incomplete designs because the smaller blank couldn't accommodate the entire image. A Nevada quarter struck on a nickel planchet brought $89,000 at auction, while another on a dime planchet achieved an astonishing $107,400, the highest known price for any Nevada State quarter error to date. There are also a handful of examples of double denomination errors, where a coin is struck twice, once as one denomination and again as another. In 2006, A remarkable Nevada quarter was found struck over a 2005 Kansas state quarter, resulting in a coin that displayed ghostly images of both designs on each side. This incredible minting error caused a bidding war and eventually sold for $93,200. Collectors prize such pieces because they represent an extremely rare mishap at the mint, something that almost never happens in modern times. Some 2006 Nevada quarters have been discovered with striking die polishing errors as well. These occur when the mint attempts to clean and smooth out dies but removes too much material, erasing parts of the design. On a few of these coins, portions of the sun's rays or the horse's tails are missing entirely. A particularly clean example of this type sold for $49,800. Another, with the missing rays but a nearly flawless mirror-like finish, was auctioned $4.57. 600. Collectors also find great interest in partial collar errors, where the coin is only partially held by the collar during striking. This results in a rim that's thicker or thinner on one side and sometimes displays a noticeable step or ridge. A 2006 Nevada quarter with a strong partial collar and full luster sold for $42,900, proving that even subtle errors can attract major attention when the condition is right. While most Nevada quarters are common and worth only face value, these rare minting anomalies remind us why it's always worth taking a closer look at the change in your pocket. You could be holding a small fortune without even realizing it. Many collectors discovered their valuable 2006 Nevada errors purely by accident, finding them in rolls of quarters or even in circulation. The story of the 2006 Nevada State Quarter teaches an important lesson about modern coinage. Even in an era of high-tech minting, perfection is not always guaranteed. A small misalignment, a missing layer, or a die oversight can transform an ordinary 25-cent piece into a treasure worth thousands, or even over $100,000, with prices ranging from $39,800 to $107,400 depending on rarity, condition, and type of error. The 2006 Nevada quarter stands as one of the most remarkable coins in the entire state quarter series. It's a reminder that behind every coin lies a piece of history, and sometimes, a surprise worth more than you could ever imagine. So next time you spot a Nevada quarter, look a little closer. Those wild Mustangs might just be running straight toward your next big discovery. The 1979 Washington quarter dollar is one of those coins that at first glance seems completely ordinary, something you've probably seen or spent thousands of times without a second thought. But for collectors and sharp-eyed treasure hunters, the 1979 Washington quarter holds an incredible secret. Hidden among the millions produced that year are rare minting errors that have turned simple 25-cent pieces into valuable collectibles worth thousands. Some of these error coins have sold at auction for prices ranging from $51,150 to an astonishing $132,200, making them one of the most sought-after modern quarters in the numismatic world. The Washington quarter has been a part of American history since 1932, when it was first struck to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. The design has gone through different metal compositions and minting processes, but by 1979, the U.S. Mint had perfected the modern clad coin, a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. Yet, even with improved technology, the minting process isn't foolproof. Mistakes still happen, and when they do, those rare flaws can transform an everyday coin into a collector's dream point. One of the most valuable error types seen in the 1979 Washington quarter is the double die obverse. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is impressed twice slightly out of alignment, creating doubled images on the lettering or design. Collectors look for doubling on words like Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date 1979. A well-preserved example showing clear doubling across the motto sold for $45,600, and another with dramatic doubling on Washington's profile reached $51,150 at auction. Coins like these grab attention not just because of their rarity but because the doubling is clearly visible to the naked eye, making them easy to identify and incredibly appealing. Another remarkable error variety from 1979 involves off-center strikes. This occurs when the blank planchet is not correctly aligned during striking, resulting in part of the design being missing. Depending on how much of the coin is struck off-center, the value can increase significantly, especially if the date remains visible. A 1979 Washington quarter struck 40% off-center, showing part of Washington's face missing but the date intact, sold for $18,200. Another with a 65% off-center strike fetched $27,700 because of its unusual and eye-catching appearance. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more collectors are willing to pay. Equally fascinating are broad strike errors, where the collar that normally forms the coin's edge fails during minting, causing the coin to spread out and appear larger than normal. While these errors may seem minor, a 1979 broad strike quarter in pristine condition graded MS67 sold for $5,450, proving that even subtle minting imperfections can command premium prices when well preserved. The 1979 quarters also produced a few examples of clipped planchet errors, where part of the metal blank was cut too close to the edge of the metal sheet, leaving a curved or straight clip on the coin. These can vary from tiny nicks to dramatic sections missing. A single clipped quarter might sell for a few $100s, but one rare double-clipped 1979 quarter sold for $7,850, and another with a large crescent-shaped clip realized $9,100 at a major auction. These are the types of coins that instantly stand out in a collection. But some of the most astonishing 1979 quarters are those struck on the wrong planchet, meaning they were accidentally minted on blanks intended for another denomination. A 1979 quarter struck on a nickel planchet, for example, would appear smaller and lighter, missing part of the design. One such example sold for $24,600. Even more remarkable was a 1979 quarter struck on a dime planchet that fetched $29,300, while another struck on a foreign coin blank went for over $35,000. These types of errors are the rarest of the rare, and when they appear, collectors go wild trying to acquire them. Another rare but dramatic mistake found on 1979 quarters involves multiple strikes. This happens when a coin is struck more than once before being ejected from the press. The overlapping images create a fascinating, almost surreal effect. One 1979 quarter with a double strike, showing two overlapping images of Washington's profile, sold for $41,200, while a spectacular triple strike example graded MS66 sold for $58,700. Multiple strike errors are among the most collectible and visually striking minting mistakes in U.S. coin history. Some 1979 quarters also show die cracks and cuds, where parts of the die used to strike the coin broke or cracked, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. While smaller cracks might only be worth a few $100s, larger cuds, especially those that obscure parts of Washington's head or the lettering, can fetch thousands. A 1979 quarter with a large die cud over Liberty sold for $5,200, and another with a dramatic break on the reverse near United States of America brought $6,450. There are also rare cases of missing clad layer errors from 1979. Normally, Washington quarters have a copper core with outer layers of cupronickel, but when the top layer doesn't adhere properly during production, the coin can appear two-toned or reveal its copper interior. A 1979 quarter missing one clad layer on the reverse was auctioned for $11,300, and another missing both layers entirely, appearing completely copper, fetched $18,000. These coins are visually distinct, and their rarity makes them incredibly desirable. Collectors have also found transitional errors, where a coin was struck using materials or dyes from the previous production period. For 1979, this can include slight differences in metal composition or die details. These transitional errors are extremely rare because modern minting is tightly controlled. One such transitional error quarter was verified by PCGS and sold for $14,750. Among the most visually stunning errors are the mirror brockage errors, where one side of the coin features a mirrored, ink-use image of the other side. These occur when a freshly struck coin sticks to the die and impresses its image onto the next blank. A 1979 quarter with a full brockage of Washington's head on the reverse sold for $43,500, while another near-perfect example graded MS68 set a record price of $78,100, and perhaps the most jaw-dropping of all, a 1979 Washington quarter error that combined both a double strike and a wrong planchet, sold for a staggering $132,200 at auction. This coin, struck on a foreign planchet and showing two overlapping impressions, is one of the most valuable Washington quarter errors ever documented. It's the kind of coin that instantly becomes a centerpiece in any serious collection. Every error coin tells a story, a moment in time when something went slightly wrong in the U.S. Mint's massive production machinery. While most mistakes are caught and destroyed, the few that escape become tangible pieces of minting history. What makes the 1979 Washington Quarter so fascinating is that it comes from a period when technology was advanced enough to prevent most mistakes, yet some still slipped through, creating beautiful accidents of history. For collectors, the thrill isn't just in owning these coins but in discovering them. Some of the most valuable 1979-era quarters were found in ordinary pocket change or inherited coin jars. A man in Texas discovered an off-center 1979 quarter in a jar of coins his father had collected and later sold it for $4,850. Another person in Florida found a Broadstrike-era quarter in circulation that was later graded and sold for $6,300. These stories prove that even today, hidden treasures might still be waiting in plain sight. So, the next time you come across a 1979 Washington quarter, take a closer look. Check the edges, study the lettering, and see if anything seems off, because that small imperfection might not be a flaw at all, but a sign of incredible rarity. Who knows? You might be holding a coin worth tens of thousands, or even one of those legendary pieces that brought over $132,200 at auction. In the world of coin collecting, luck favors those who look a little closer.